According to several sources, one of the captured creatures, still alive but injured, was not taken to a military base. Instead, it was secretly transported to a small local hospital. In 1996, in a quiet city in Brazil, an event unfolded that would later be called Brazil's Roswell. This wasn't just a fleeting light in the sky. It was a series of bizarre encounters involving strange creatures, a massive military response, and a cover-up that continues to this day. Welcome to Varginha, a city whose name became synonymous with one of the most compelling and chilling UFO cases in history. What really happened over those few days in January? The story involves ordinary citizens, doctors, soldiers, and a government that insists nothing unusual occurred. But the testimonies of dozens of witnesses paint a very different picture, a picture of a crashed UFO, captured alien beings, and a secret so big, people were willing to risk everything to keep it hidden. This wasn't a single sighting. It was a chain of events over several days that would forever change this small Brazilian town. So, what did they see? The story begins around January 13th, 1996. Over the next week, residents of Varginha and nearby towns started reporting something strange in the sky. It wasn't a plane or a helicopter. Witnesses described it as a large, cigar-shaped object, flying unusually low and erratically. It seemed to be in trouble, wobbling as it moved and trailing smoke. Many people also reported hearing a loud, low-frequency buzzing sound, like an engine struggling to stay alive. One couple, Aurelina and Eurico de Freitas, were woken up by their farm animals going crazy. They looked outside and saw the object gliding silently over their field, just a few feet above the ground. It was massive, they said, about the size of a school bus. Shortly after these sightings began, locals noticed something else just as strange: a sudden and heavy military presence in the area. Convoys of army trucks, police cars, and emergency vehicles were seen all over, which was highly unusual for this peaceful city. The sightings weren't isolated to one or two people. They were seen by many across different neighborhoods, all describing a similar, mysterious craft in distress. Then, on the afternoon of January 20th, the story took a truly unbelievable turn. 3 young women, sisters Liliane and Valquiria Fatima Silva, along with their friend Katia Andrade Xavier, were taking a shortcut through a vacant lot. As they walked, they saw something that stopped them in their tracks. Crouching by a wall was a creature unlike anything they had ever seen. They described it as being short, maybe about 4 feet tall, with thin limbs and dark, brownish skin that looked oily or wet. But what stood out most were its head and eyes. It had a large, oversized head with no visible hair, nose, or ears, and 3 small bumps on top. And its eyes were huge, red, and deeply unsettling. The creature seemed weak, injured, or frightened. It didn't make a sound. The girls were terrified and ran home to tell their mother what they saw. Their mother returned to the site with them, and while the creature was gone, she noticed a strange, ammonia-like smell lingering in the air. Their account would become the most famous part of the Varginha incident. But they weren't the only ones. That same day, other locals reported seeing similar creatures in different parts of the city, all sharing the same consistent and bizarre description. As news of these creature sightings spread, the military presence in Varginha escalated dramatically. Witnesses reported seeing army vehicles and soldiers sealing off entire sections of the city. The fire department was also heavily involved, with firefighters being seen capturing something in a net and putting it into a wooden box. According to several civilian and military whistleblowers who later came forward, the army successfully captured at least 1, possibly 2, of these creatures. One was allegedly captured alive by a military police officer after a brief chase. Another was reportedly found dead. Eyewitnesses described seeing these creatures being transported in the back of military trucks, covered by tarps, with soldiers acting with extreme urgency and secrecy. They were not behaving as if this was a routine operation. They were armed, tense, and aggressive towards anyone who got too close. The official military response? They denied everything. They claimed their presence in the city was for a routine transfer of personnel, and that the fire department was just responding to a normal call. But for the people who saw it with their own eyes, this explanation felt like a lie. The secretive and large-scale military action just didn't add up. The mystery deepens even further with what allegedly happened next. According to several sources, one of the captured creatures, still alive but injured, was not taken to a military base. Instead, it was secretly transported to a small local hospital. Reports claim that an entire wing of the hospital was cleared out to receive this patient. Medical staff who were on duty were sworn to secrecy, but stories leaked out. They said they were ordered to treat a non-human being with the same oily, brown skin and large red eyes. The creature had a strong, unpleasant odor and didn't seem to respond to any of their treatments. The entire operation was overseen by the military, and all medical records vanished. But the most disturbing part of this story involves a 23-year-old military police officer named Marco Cherez. He was allegedly one of the first responders who helped capture one of the creatures, reportedly touching its bare skin without gloves. Shortly after the incident, Cherez fell gravely ill with a mysterious infection. Doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. Within weeks, his organs failed and he died. The official cause of death was listed as pneumonia, but his family believes he was silenced and that his death was a direct result of contact with the creature. This element of the story fueled theories of biological contamination, suggesting that whatever these beings were, they might have been hazardous to human health. In the weeks and months that followed, the Brazilian government and military launched an official inquiry. Their conclusion was simple. Nothing happened. They claimed the cigar-shaped UFO was just the moon seen through low clouds. The creatures seen by the three young women? They were dismissed as a bizarre misidentification of a well-known local homeless man who was mentally disabled and often seen crouching in public. The military activity was just a coincidence, and the death of Officer Marco Cherez was completely unrelated. However, for the witnesses and researchers who had invested months investigating the case, these explanations were insulting and full of holes. The witnesses stood by their stories, adamant that what they saw was not a man or any known animal. How could dozens of people across the city all misidentify the same thing in the same way on the same day? UFO researchers pointed out countless contradictions in the official story, the missing evidence, and the intimidation of witnesses. Doctors and nurses from the hospital refused to speak publicly, many citing fear of reprisal. The official explanation simply did not align with the sheer volume and consistency of the eyewitness accounts. It felt less like an explanation and more like a poorly constructed cover-up. So, why does the Varginha case still matter nearly 3 decades later? Because it remains one of the most credible, complex, and well-documented mass UFO incidents in history. It's not just a story about a light in the sky. It's a case built on dozens of first-hand testimonies from unrelated people, including military personnel who broke their silence. It involves physical evidence that allegedly disappeared, a mysterious death, and a government that went to extreme lengths to deny everything. The Varginha incident raises profound questions that we are still grappling with today. Questions about government transparency, the extent of military secrecy, and of course, the possibility that we are not alone. To this day, the city of Varginha has embraced its strange history. You can find statues of the alien creature, UFO-themed water towers, and tourist shops selling alien souvenirs. But behind the novelty, the core mystery remains unsolved. Was it all just a series of bizarre coincidences and mass hysteria? A clever hoax? Or did the Brazilian military really capture an extraterrestrial being in 1996 and manage to keep the biggest secret in human history? What do you think really happened in Varginha? Thanks for watching, and if you have your own theory, let me know in the comments below.